Chapter 8 Shattered Skies. The enemy is on the move, approaching the city in the clouds. Those who have wings are called to defend it. The heroines are ready to assist, but will this be enough? As the sun reaches its peak, the battle begins. February 2nd, 2019. 4,500 hours. Cloudsdale. Mirage Squadron's base. It was still dark in the equestrian skies. The recent days had put every pony on edge. Despite recovering the supplies from the bunkers taken by the Griffins, it still turned out as a cleverly placed trap. Without the help, the Mirage Squadron was unable to assist other towns as the Griffins began full-scale attack. Manhattan fell not long after they fought the Clydesdale Plains. The whole EAF was still holding several key cities. Aside from Caroline Clydesdale, Stalingrad and Ponyville were also important pieces of resistance. However, while things looked a little bleak, the Ponies were not alone in defending their land. By calling out for assistance from their relatives in distant Appaloosa, they agreed with a little help from the Buffaloes to help the transport stock up on apple pies, but not for digesting purposes. As it was once proved, they could be used as an effective weapon too. The whole operation lasted almost 3 days, since it was carried out in absolute secrecy. It did draw the Griffins' attention. Meanwhile, the Ponies were doing their best trying to keep them busy. Though successful, in the end, they suffered several casualties and lost Tringham 2 days ago. Luckily, the citizens were evacuated to Caroline, where they were trying to reorganize. And they're taking over Manhattan. The invaders were now dangerously close to the vicinity of Clydesdale. While they could surround it and take it by storm, someone worried that the Pegasus Ponies, even Mirage Squadron supporting them, would be strong enough to hold the city. No pony knew about the mysterious Pegasus that appeared on the Clydesdale Plains 2 weeks ago, as Gale wasn't certain he could actually take part in the war. He didn't want to spread any rumors. Things were quite complicated, but the Pegasus remained confident that they would save Clydesdale. Rainbow and her friends were still resting in their beds. Medley kept on rolling back and forth. It seemed like he was dreaming of an intense fight. Lightning Bolt and Cloudkicker were sleeping together. Damn straight! Not that way, Cloudkicker! With the lavender bear resting her head on Lightning's flank, she didn't mind at all. They looked cute while asleep. Even Fluttershy and Derpy slept tight. However, Rainbow herself was already wide awake. She was just staring at the ceiling for the past 30 minutes, trying to get some sleep, but no avail. She had a lot on her mind. Recent events involved some questions that needed answers. As he turned to the left, she hurriedly heard some noises, as if someone was strolling in the hallway. Rainbow noticed that Firefly left her bed, so he decided to sneak out of the room as quietly as possible and look for the source of the disturbance. She knew Firefly had a lot on her mind too, but didn't want to tell any pony. Her recent behavior seemed to confirm it. For the last few days, she became increasingly cold and aggressive to the point of outright yelling at her teammates during training, even if they showed some signs of fatigue. As Rainbow was passing by Mission Control, she saw her on her computer. At first, the Blue Pegasus just stood there, uncertain what to do. Then she heard some faint whispers. Here I thought I would never run into him again. Fate could be cruel. Why were you hiding all this time? If you wanted, you could just show up and tell me it all. Rainbow had no idea what Firefly was referring to, but she saw the pink Pegasus was checking data on some black star. She apparently was thinking to herself out loud. Rainbow walked in quietly, trying to talk with her. Hey, Firefly! Hearing her name, she turned around. The look on her face suggested she woke up recently, too. Firefly let out a mild yawn, trying to cover her mouth. Oh, morning, Rainbow. I'm sorry if I woke you up. I'll be done in a minute. No, it's fine, Rainbow replied. I was wondering about that mysterious Pegasus. Again? Firefly asked. It's all you've been thinking about in the past 2 weeks. You say even your predictions are about him are training. You know, I'm sorry to think you've fallen for him. See, I won't snicker. Like, hey, I would. He's not even my type. Rainbow said with a last whisper. Wasn't all true, though. Rainbow was greatly impressed by Mobius' speed, fighting skills, and strength. He'd probably be a great example for the others. I admit the guy's pretty good, even handsome, but that doesn't mean I feel anything towards him. A barely visible blush appeared on Rainbow's cheeks when she said that. The room was only lit by computers and monitors, so Firefly didn't notice. Well, if you say so. Anyway, there's no place for love during the war. Hey, I think love can blossom on the battlefield. And we can't count on his help much, besides. She didn't speak further. It was obvious they were anxious about him. That Pegasus wasn't from Equestria, and they weren't sure if he could actually bother to try and help them. But in reality, Rainbow was thinking about something else. Since you're already up, can we talk? She asked Firefly. The pink Pegasus turned to her again. About? About you. I see you have some problems, Rainbow whispered. What are you talking about? At first, Dash didn't answer, trying to put everything in her together. Finally, she spoke. Why didn't you tell us about that Griffith? Why were you hiding the real reason you came to Equestria? It's about revenge, isn't it? So that whole speech about protecting our land was just smoke and mirrors? Can you explain this to me? The sudden barrage of questions caused Firefly to hang her head. Moments later, when she tried to explain, her eyes met Rainbow's. The blue Pegasus saw the reflecting sadness in her friend's heart. Firefly's voice was shaky. I wanted to tell you all. I had no idea he would show up like that all of a sudden. I never even thought he would actually appear in Equestria again. I didn't come here just for revenge, Daz. You had to believe me. The main reason I came back was to protect Equestria from the invasion. I want to protect the land we all call home. She rose the volume a bit in her voice in that last statement. Rainbow wanted to believe her, but something was still uncertain for the Rainbow Main Flyer. She decided to ask her something else. Alright then, why didn't you tell me about him outright? Like keep it a secret? This time, Firefly looked angrily at Rainbow. To her, it probably seemed like a meaningless argument. No idea how painful it was for her to witness everything again in her mind. Why? You want to know why? I'll tell you why. What if your parents were killed and you saw their dead bodies and their killers before your very eyes? How would you feel then? Would it be easy for you to tell somebody about it? Well, tell me! She exclaimed those words in Rainbow's face. Not bothered by the fact she did it loudly. The blue Pegasus felt regret. She spoke quietly. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. Save it! Firefly walked back to the computer. Rainbow felt bitter. She said one word too many. Firefly sat on the floor, looking at Black Star's data. She whispered again. You don't know how this feels. You don't know the pain I feel. Nobody knows. Then tell me about it, Rainbow suggested. It might ease the pain a little. The pink Pegasus wasn't sure she was ready to confess the whole truth, even though she trusted Rainbow greatly. The last few phrases being louder than normal led to other Pegasi waking up and slowly entering mission control. Firefly looked down on the floor. So, you girls woke up too, huh? How much did you hear? We've heard enough, Lightning Bolt remarked. We know that you and Black Star are in some sort of conflict, but keeping it a mystery does not benefit our team. Maybe it's time you should tell us something more about him, Clockkicker added. Are you so cold to us because of him? You know, we could always talk a little. Fluttershy came closer to Firefly and assured her things became too painful for her to explain. She didn't have to confess. They wouldn't understand. The pink Pegasus smiled somberly and looked at Rainbow. I told you. You're really lucky to have such friends. Alright then, I'll tell you what happened between me and Black Star. Hopefully I'll finish this painful chapter of my life before sunrise. Medley noticed the 5 a.m. was approaching. They all sat around Firefly as began her story. You see, I wasn't considered a typical Pegasus pony when I was younger. My parents were always proud of my agility and courage. They hoped one day I'll grow into a fine mare. Back then I had a dream, very much like yours, Rainbow Dash. Become a member of the Wonderbolts. Can't say I'm surprised. The Wonderbolts were always the best flyers in Equestria. Every Pegasus had a dream of joining them at least once, Rainbow pointed out. That's right. I had every possible skill needed to become one. I was never afraid of even doing the most dangerous-looking tricks. I used to show them to my parents often. I had my dad's approval, while my mom was a bit more careful. Mothers usually are like that, said Derpy. Sometimes I wonder how Dinky's doing. I'm sure she's fine. After all, Cheerily is looking after the fillies. Clockkicker reminded her. She probably turned to Firefly seeing if she was interrupting her. Nah, it's fine. We have plenty of time till morning. She brushed Cloudkicker's worries off. Anyways, one day I received a once-in-a-lifetime chance. One of the Wonderbolts noticed me during a particular impressive stunt and invited me to Coliseum, so I could show them what I was made of. My parents were quite thrilled by this, so they agreed to let me go without a second thought. I was so excited that my dream would finally come true. Firefly heightened her voice for a while. The Pegasus looked at each other, wondering if she needed a moment to gather her thoughts. She resumed talking moments later. But as I was showing them my skills, I suddenly noticed smoke appearing in the place where my home was. I grew worried about my parents, and even though I was close to becoming a Wonderbolt, I decided to see if they were all right. So I flew away. They probably thought I took it down or something. I'm sure that they will understand that they learned what happened. Friendly spoke. Maybe. I guess I'll never know the answer to that. Firefly replied. So, when I got back home, I saw everything falling apart. My home was on fire, and it seemed like it was burning for a while now. I was terrified. I called out to my parents, but they never responded. I went inside, ignoring the flames of smoke. I kept on calling them, to no avail. When I lost all hope, I saw them. Or so I say I saw their bodies. Bodies? Where were they? Firefly gasped. Yeah, dead. Both of them burned so much their bodies were charcoal. I saw they had cloud wounds on them, too, like they were tortured or assaulted. Then I saw him. You mean that Griffith Blackstar? Lightning Bolt asked. Yeah, but I didn't know who he was then. He was standing before the flames, almost right next to my parents' bodies. At first, I had no idea what was happening. Mommy, Daddy, what happened to you? Please wake up. Say something. Don't bother. The Griffin said to the pink filly. He was facing her with his back. Your parents thought they could stand up to me, but I showed them what happens to those who scheme against my kingdom. What have you done to them? Firefly screamed. Why aren't they waking up? What did you do? The Griffin turned around, looked at Firefly with his piercing eyes. She felt her entire body froze in horror. She never felt so scared before. Then by extending its wings, revealing a symbol that looked like a black star on his vest he was wearing. I was given an order by my superiors. They believed that your parents were planning to stage a mutiny against the Griffith Kingdom. As a sworn soldier, I had to make sure no such thing would occur. They had been put to rest forever. He had a monotone and grim voice. The flames around only made him look more intimidating. Is this some kind of cruel joke? Because I'm not laughing. My parents never planned anything against your kingdom. Who told you this nonsense? Firefly kept yelling into Griffith, anger and fear mixing in her heart. Like I said, I had an order to execute it. But now that I did, I can see what you say is true. Found any traces that would indicate their involvement in the mutiny? Seems like I was mistaken. The Griffin seemed completely unmoved despite what he did. Firefly was infuriated by his seeming lack of emotions. She let out a scream and flew straight at the feathered soldier. He simply smacked her away with his wings. She got up, forgetting her fear. My focus slowly on the seamlessly heartless being that stood before her. I will never forgive you. I'm going to avenge them. I'll make you pay for what you did to them. I'll make you pay! Screaming so loud her voice echoed around the mountains. She saw the Griffith again, but he knocked her back without much of an effort. Despite being in clear disadvantage, she kept attacking him. The pink Pegasus relentlessly tried to hurt her opponent, but every time she tried, he just sent her back to the ground. Bending heavily, with tears streaming down her cheeks, Firefly yelled at him again. You won't get away with this, you feathered bastard! I'll make you suffer like you made me. My parents did not deserve this. What you did was unforgivable. You'll regret ever coming here! With these words, she charged at the Griffith once more, but he decided to stop playing around. Try as you might, you are no match for me. Seconds later, he flew directly at Firefly and slashed her with his claws. The Pegasus tossed down a side of the burning house into the gorge below. Screaming as he tumbled down, scratching her body onto sharp rocks and hitting the ground hard. The Griffith soldier got out and looked down, noticing the wounded but still breathing filly. It flew down and approached her. Then, instead of dealing the killing blow, he whispered to her ear. I commend your courage, but if you really want to avenge your parents, you must die. You're not ready to face me. When you become stronger, I will find you. Then we will finish our fight. I hope you will not disappoint me. Remember my name, little filly. I am Blackstar, soldier of the Griffith Kingdom. He then flew away. Firefly tried to reach her hoof and stop him, but it was futile. The pink Pegasus pony collapsed and burst into tears. She cried because of the pain, because of her parents' deaths, because her dreams were utterly crushed. All this by a single encounter. All these feelings of despair overwhelmed her. She lay down for many minutes, sobbing and reminiscing about the two ponies who raised her since birth, but now were gone forever. When she released the whole trauma inside her, the pink Pegasus used the last ounce of her strength to fly back up to the scorching ruins of her home. Taking one final glimpse at the burned bodies, she made a vow. I swore to myself I would become the strongest Pegasus Equestria ever knew. and I would become strong enough to avenge my mom and dad. Though it seems that time is yet to come. Firefly finished her story. An unsettling silence had fallen. But needless to say, her friends were shocked upon hearing the reasons behind the Pink Pegasus' actions. Cloudkicker spoke first. That Black Star is an A-class jerk. And that's the least offending thing I can think of calling him. He even admitted he killed your parents like it was an everyday work for him. It's hard to blame you for acting the way you did, Lightning added. If that happened to me, I would do the same. Fluttershy was sympathizing with Firefly more than ever before, so he came closer to her and nuzzled her cheek. The Yellow Pegasus tried to cheer her up, saying that Firefly didn't need to face her past alone. Others agreed wholeheartedly. Rainbow Dash then said, Only thing that would stop you from taking down Black Star is you alone, Firefly. That's certain. You've got what it takes to beat him, and I'm sure you'll do it the next time you run into that bastard. Firefly looked at her friends. For the first time in many years, she felt a bit more peaceful. With a simple but honest thank you, she left her mission control to fly to headquarters. The others followed. The sun was rising. They were about to go on to their hardest mission so far. 07-2200 hours. Cloudsdale headquarters. As the 7 Pegasi arrived at headquarters, they were greeted by Gale. He motioned to them to come inside and follow him. Looking around, he noticed everybody was acting busy, with some of them analyzing tactics, others training steadily perform various aerial maneuvers. Seeing these preparations prompted Melody to ask, Well, Gale, will they all preparing for the upcoming battle? Yes, as you know. Don't use as you know as exposition. Cloudsdale is considered a home to most, if not all, Pegasi. If in a matter of speaking, it's our main aerial base, so we must make sure the enemy will not overrun it, the Red Pegasus explained. Firefly approached Gale and whispered something to his ear. Judging by his reaction, it must have been quite important. He looked at her with eyes open, asking if it was true. The other Pegasi looked suspiciously at him. Hey, I thought there were supposed to be any more secrets on our team, Firefly. Rainbow Dash sounded a bit frustrated. The Pink Pegasus stopped and looked at her. It's not a secret. I've already told Princess Celestia and Luna about it. You're going to hear about it today, too. Not knowing what she meant, the girls kept following Gale until they reached the briefing room. A large map of Equestrian was hanging on one of the walls. Other than this, the room, which contained several benches, was almost completely empty. Gale explained that he brought them earlier than everybody else, as this was concerning an important matter. He stated that the Griffins were en route to Cloudsdale, and their approximate strength was anywhere between 70 to 95 units. Among all Pegasi living in Cloudsdale, only about 60 were capable of fighting. Everybody else was moved to safer areas. The Red Pegasus then started the actual briefing on their mission, suggesting it would be split into 3 groups. I know you've done this before, so I expect no difficulties. There are 3 key sectors of Cloudsdale. North one, the center one, and south one. Each of these will require your presence to be properly fortified. Our Pegasi forces are capable of putting up a good fight, but the Griffins have an advantage in numbers and strength, so your assistance is necessary. It's entirely up to you how you'll divide your team, but I suggest balancing it out to avoid problems. We're expecting that the Griffins' main attack force will move towards the center sector, so that one will be having 3 of you. The north and south ones will have 2 members of the squadron in it. Is everything clear so far? Pegasi nodded, indicating that he understood the message so far. Gale continued with showing them various squadrons and men formed in Cloudsdale that were participating in this mission. Once he finished, he then announced something that surprised Rainbow and her friends. I'm glad to add that you'll not be alone in this mission. As for saying this, he turned to his communicator and said, Come in now, guys. The doors to the room were open, and 3 Pegasi in familiar blue uniforms walked in. Everybody gasped. The Wonderbolts were standing in front of them. Gale noticed that the reactions and said with a smirk told him everything. That's right. As you can see, the Wonderbolts are back in action, and each of your teams will get support from one of them. Firebolt will aid the opponents in the southern sector. Sora will be flying in with those of North 1, and Spitfire will help the ones in the center. Under the initial shock, all Pegasi burst into happy cheering. Wonderbolts flying them, the spirits of the other flyers would rise. Rainbow was especially excited, which was completely understandable. Firefly did approach the 3 Pegasi. They seemed to recognize her. So, you Firefly? Spitfire asked. Leader Mirage, it's a pleasure to see you again. I see you've gotten tougher. Thanks. But there's something I need to tell you. She then gave Gale a call around his desk. It started to appear soon. Everybody saw several pictures that represented a gigantic structure in the mountains. Some of it was parts that looked like a fortress, while others resembled turrets. But the most significant feature was a long-barreled cannon extended from the main building. When Derpy asked what this contraption could be, Firefly responded, "That is a super weapon the Griffins were building, long before this war even started. A few months before coming back to Equestria, I discovered it. This is supposed to be their trump card. It's codenamed the Burning Talon. I'm not sure if it's on operational status yet, but judging how much they were rusty construction, I'd say it could actually be soon." "And what's about this Burning Talon?" Rainbow asked. This weapon's supposed to store solar energy in generators, which are located deep within the facility. If that's true, then said energy is transported to the core of the structure. Saying this, Firefly showed a detailed model of the super weapon, where the operators could use the long barrel you see here to actually fire a beam of scorching light. In other words, it's a chemical laser firing fortress. I'm not sure how far the laser would reach, but I predicted it would do damage to Cloudsteel. This is a secret I've been holding on with until now. If it's finished, we'll be in a world of hurt. Iris tried to learn something more about the super weapon, but suddenly the alarm went off. 09:50 hours. Cloudsdale, Central Sector. The enemy was approaching the city, and slightly sooner than the ponies calculated. Racing against time, the Wonderbolts, along with Firefly's team, flew into the city center. Some Pegasi who noticed them flying side by side cheered on them, seeing as a sign of good luck. Upon racing their positions, Firefly split the team so they could aid each Wonderbolt in the proper sectors. Lightning Bolt and Cloudkicker were asked to fly with Firebolt, while Derpy and Medley joined Soren. When they left, it led Firefly, Fluttershy, and Rainbow Dash to stick with Spitfire. The Blue Pegasus was trembling with emotions. She finally got a chance to fly alongside her Isles. Spitfire informed her about the possible attack force, and stated that they must fight their best. Rainbow, with a smug tone, told her there was nothing to be afraid of. Many other Pegasi were also settling on their positions. Fluttershy did the counting. They had mastered about 35 flyers, though many of them still looked like and acted like rookies. Gale's voice had sounded in their communicators, saying that the Griffins will be within Cloudsdale in 10 minutes. Every point braced themselves for the coming battle. Firefly did saw the attackers coming after a few moments of nervous waiting. A band of about 40 to 50 Griffins, flying directly at them. The girls recognized some of their opponents. Razor, Scythe, and Echo were among the squadrons. They assumed that some of their other foes must be with different groups. Lightning Bolt sent a message, having identified Jet and Sailcross in the enemy units that were coming at the southern sector. A few seconds later, Medley reported that the Griffins headed toward the northern sector, were being led by Greyback and a Griffin with a green vest, bearing number 2. Firefly immediately knew that it was Vulture from the Talon Squadron, so he thought I'd probably volunteer for this mission and hoped to run into her again. Seeing the assailants coming closer, the Pegasus ponies were about to meet them in battle. "This is where the fun begins," Rainbow exclaimed. "Hostiles confirmed, all allies! You're clear to engage and eliminate them. Just don't do anything stupid," Firefly advised her friends. "Every pony, fly!" Cloudsdale, Northern Sector. The job of Soren, Derpy, and Medley was to defend the gates to the city. While heavily fortified, they would not last long against a concentrated attack. Soren decided to fly ahead to see if the enemies were coming. Just then, the first of the Griffins flew right past him. Medley saw him coming, though, and went to intercept him. Soren turned on his communicator and contacted other Pegasi standing by the gate. "I see them. Got a tally ho on the bandits. Protect the gate!" Within a few minutes, the group of 15 Griffins appeared in the airspace. Derpy joined Soren in fighting them. Medley just dealt with the first attacker and flew to Soren for further instructions. He dispatched her to the left flank with several other Pegasi backing her up. So I had to keep an eye on a single Griffin at a time, and picked him off with direct assaults. In the meantime, Derpy aided the defenders on the right flank, and instantly clashing with 2 Griffins, severely wounding one of them. It appeared the Pegasi had the situation under control, at least for the moment. Jet picked up Derpy on his radar and went to meet her in a bow. The right Pegasi noticed him too. While not as swift as Fireflies, he managed to keep Jet's attention. Circles decided not to interfere, simply observed the fight from a distance, at least until Storm found him and the two fought bravely. 1300 hours. Cloudsdale, Southern Sector. Lightning Bolt confirmed their enemy presence and directed the group to 4 Pegasi to keep them occupied. The numbers of bandits were smaller than in other sectors, due to the southern sector simply having a strategic value. But the Pegasi knew that keeping this sector under their control would make it easier for their forces to sortie. Fireball and Cloudkicker flew side by side, heading towards the second wave of Griffins. The Violet Pegasus noticed the Vulture among them. While Fireball advised her to stay behind, She headed directly for him and ultimately decided to clash with Vulture instead, leaving Cloud Kicker to deal with 3 Griffiths supporting him. Luckily for the Flyer, she too had an assistance. Vulture's brass stinking became his doom. He tried to take on Fireball head on and perform a trick that would allow him to be directly above her, leaving her open to be attacked. But the Wonderbolt had seen situations before and wasn't fooled. In the middle of the trick, Vulture saw Fireball performing a counter maneuver to put the Griffith right before the Pegasus' eyes. Having difficulty with balancing his body, the Vulture was an easy target. Firebolt rushed toward him and struck him with full force, sending his feathered soldier into a nearby column. Yelling, he crashed into it and pummeled it down, blood streaming from his head. That loud yell alarmed Greyback. He saw Vulture fighting, defeated, his eyes closed and not giving a sign of life. The Griffin was overcome with rage and out for blood. He targeted Cloud Kicker, but thanks to Lightning's guidance, he was prepared. With a group of 3 other Pegasi, she clashed with Greyback. A brief struggle later, he was forced to retreat from the risk of being surrounded. He still found revenge for Vulture's death, though. Firebolt reported to Gale in that situation, and southern sector was slowly cooling down, was met with praising comments from him. Soon, the Griffins retreated to airspace. Lightning Bolt was called to assist the flyers in the northern sector, while Cloud was sent to the center one. Firebolt kept a few Pegasi with her to ensure that the enemy would not try any surprise attacks. 12:41 hours. Cloudsdale, Central Sector. The battle raged on. As expected, the biggest attack troop was concentrated in the Central Sector. In the ensuing dogfights, Firefly and Spitfire managed to defeat many assailants, but it seems like defeating 1 Griffin made 3 more appear. Rainbow found herself face to face with Scythe. He recognized her as a Pegasus who tried to fight his squadron all by herself. The fight between them lasted only a couple of minutes, and Scythe broke away and flew to a group of several Pegasi clashing with the other Griffiths. They were fighting bravely, but the feathered soldiers had an advantage in strength. Rainbow tried to follow Scythe, but she suddenly heard Spitfire's voice calling for assistance. Freezing in place, she turned around and saw her fighting Echo. They were evenly matched. While Firefly was flying toward them, she noticed another Griffin trying to attack Spitfire from behind. While hesitating, she intercepted him with a swift strike to the face, making him fall down. Echo noticed it and decided to break away and look for other targets. Spitfire looked at Rainbow with sighs of relief. "Thanks for the help. It's good to have you with us, Rainbow." Hearing one of the Wonderbolts praising her almost made her explode with joy, but she managed to hold off and said, "Do that, Spitfire. You can keep sending more. We'll dispatch them all." Making a few somersaults in the air, being a clear sign of her showing her emotions, Rainbow flew to save a band of Pegasi from the attacking Griffiths. Firefly had joined in the assist, having just bested Razor in a duel. She had a small wound on her left side, but wasn't troubled by it. A new wave of Griffiths had entered airspace. Firefly and Rainbow spit in an attempt to stop them from advancing, but their numbers were too great for just them. Rainbow called Fireside for assistance, as her job was purely defensive and consisted of backing up the Pegasi. Together, while helping the defenders keep the Griffins at bay, they managed to hold their persistence. Cloudkicker made a timely appearance, knocking one of the attackers off course and into another Pegasus, who finished him off. Yet all these successful attempts at defending Cloudsdale would come at a high price. Several planes were already badly injured, barely able to fly. Despite Mirage Squadron's support, losses were inevitable. Then another wave of bandits approached them. They immediately went to pick off the wounded ponies. The screams could be heard from a distance. Firefly charged the new wave, trying to break their formation and keep them away. Echo once again got in her way. "Well, even," he said. "Now you know how it feels to lose soldiers in battles." But that comment only infuriated Firefly. It reminded the mayor of her parents again. "Don't you dare tell me that! I know how it feels, all right!" Fueled by anger, she delivered a powerful blow against Echo. The Griffin was forced to retreat, and even though Firefly tried to pursue him, she was called back by Spitfire and Gale. The battle was far from over as new enemies were coming. After regrouping their forces, Rainbow and Cloudkicker led an attack against the upcoming bandits. While some ponies suffered claw wounds, they drove Griffins away and even took a few down. Many fell under the combined efforts of Spitfire and Mirage Squadron members, but the Griffins had no intention of ceasing their attempts to capture Cloudsdale. Hours continued to pass, with neither side being able to gain clear advance in the battle. 16:20 hours. Cloudsdale, Northern Sector. While the station was in favor of Sorensen's group, now with Lightning Bolt supporting them, couldn't shake out the thought that something was wrong. While the enemy kept attacking their gates, their numbers were drastically smaller than before. Only 4 to 6 Griffins attacking between 15 minutes. This gave the ponies enough time to fly to any wounded, fortify defenses, and reorganize their formations.
It's just me already starting to give up,
Derpy asked. Well, it certainly seemed that way. Lightning was more careful.
They're probably trying to wear us off, but the breaks between attacks are too long. They seem to be more interested in finding us than bracing the gates. I don't like this.
Constance tries to do something. He's not scared of everything as yours. Medley suggested. Lightning thought about it for a while. At this point, anything was worth a try. She turned her scanner on to find some more incoming enemies. To her surprise, no one could be seen on the horizon. Instead, she noticed a small blink of light in the distance. There was something in this light that made her shiver. Soren asked her for a report.
No bandits. The sky's clear, but I saw a light. It seemed to be getting bigger. She guessed. You don't think...
What? What's going on? Are they preparing for an attack? Medley asked.
Impossible.
Derpy jumped in.
From that distance, it's like several tens of thousands of feet away from here. No one could have such...
Her speech was abruptly cut by a booming sound. The beam of light was heading towards the gate. The picket's eye flew upward to avoid getting hit. However, the beam delivered a critical, precise hit to the fortified doors, that shattered them into pieces in a matter of seconds. The police couldn't move a muscle at first. The shock was too great. It seemed the worst fears were about to come true. Soren tried to reach Spitfire and tell her what had happened with a lightning bolt. Desperately tempted to contact Firefly, Medley, and Derpy just stared off into the ruined gates. The Griffins could now invade the city from the north. 16:30 hours. Cloudsail Central Sector. Firefly just knocked down another Griffin assailant when she heard static in her communicator. So he answered the call. Lightning's bolt was in her head first. When Firefly asked her to calm down, she said,
The gates are down! A beam of light took them out in one hit! What's that?
The pink Pegasus stopped dead in place. No doubt. The Griffins had completed their super weapon. It was fully operational. Another booming sound was heard, and a second beam ripped through the skies, blasting a nearby column and causing some ponies to panic. The Griffins started cheering and resumed attacking. Rainbow, Flashlight, Clockkicker, and Spitfire tried their best to prevent any more losses, but two ponies fell from the enemy's soaring assault and was badly hurt from the column's falling rubble. Spitfire called out the firebolt and soared to rejoin them from Central Sector, was the Pegasus complied.
Flash! Respond for Celestia's sake! What's happening?
Lightning's bolt sounded in their communicator again. Firefly responded with a somber voice. The Burning Talon.
We're in major trouble, Thunder. You're to leave the Northern Sector. Come here. We must regroup our team. And that will leave the North Sector defenseless.
She responded.
We have no choice. Get in here. Double time. Flash out.
Before Lightning Bolt could say another word, Firefly cut the communication and flew towards Rainbow, who was busy gazing the Griffins left and right. When one of them performed a somersault and got behind him, Firefly intercepted him and took out the precise blow to the neck. Rainbow was about to thank her, but another beam hit a nearby column, leaving it in ruins. The Blue Pegasus wanted to fly towards a different group of ponies being attacked by Griffins, but Firefly grabbed her tail, stopping her.
Hey, what are you doing? You want me to leave them stranded?
Rainbow asked.
They'll manage. We have to worry about ourselves. The Burning Talon is operational, as you just saw.
It's people attacking Cloudsail. We must organize and be having one major disaster here.
Cool down, Firefly, Rainbow replied. Me and Spitfire got things covered here.
It's not that.
The city itself might be in danger.
Before she continued, she noticed the other members of her squadron, with Soren and Firebolt coming along. Firefly told him that these three attacks were the Burning Talon's laser. She tried to persuade the others to leave the airspace, and the wounded ponies to getting safe for our area, but Rainbow didn't want to hear about it.
You want us to abandon Cloudsail? Firefly, are you out of your mind?
The frustration in Rainbow Das's voice was understandable. After all, she was born and raised here, like many others, and these thoughts of abandoning her own town never crossed her mind. But Firefly tried to reason.
We won't abandon it, but we don't stand a chance against the Griffins and the Burning Talon firing us at the same time.
Well, we can only fire 3 times before its generators and cooling units must recharge for several minutes. They hit with deadly precision. Saying this, he pointed to 2 destroyed columns.
I wouldn't have trouble with that. I can handle both things,
Rainbow exclaimed. Firefly was starting to lose her paces. Try something else.
You, maybe, but what about the others? We're all exhausted from the battle. Our performance is greatly hindered. We need to recover and help the others.
Consider this, Rainbow Dash. We're not really abandoning Cloudsail. Rainbow turned from her. She was getting confused. The Blue Pegasus had no intention of leaving the wounded ponies or Cloudsail unseen. She realized she was making either choice would have her and her friends sacrifice the other. She screamed in anger. The others looked at her, uncertain what else to say. Flashlight understood Rainbow's pain well. She put her arm on Rainbow's shoulder and looked into her eyes. Despite all the carnage that was going around, he remained calm the whole time. So he was aware this war would come at a heavy price, just like any other conflict. Rainbow lowered her head and looked at her own host. Before closing her eyes and saying in a resigned voice, "I'll stand by the leader's decision." The Wonderbolts also agreed to moving a safer place as top priority. Spitfire called Gale and asked her to dispatch medical wagons. Then the 3 aces were assigned to Mirage Squadron and helped to recover anyone in the area. All of them carried transports. Strangely, the Griffins ceased fighting and tried to reorganize their horses outside the city. It probably had something to do with the fact that burning talent needed time to recharge. Rainbow seemed apathetic during the entire operation, not wanting to speak with any pony. She felt like a part of her died inside. The city that she could never abandon was now about to fall into enemy claws, and frustrated her to no end. At one moment, and her ponies were taking the city, Fireflies approached her. "Trust me, I know how this feels. I think every Pegasi shares their feelings with you inside them. Afraid we have no choice." Rainbow almost broke down hearing those words. So her heroes were powerless in that matter as well. The fiery main Pegasus tried to find a way to cheer her up. "Hey, Rainbow Dash, look to me." The little Pegasus slowly raised her head to meet Spitfire's sight. She smiled dimly. "Do not think this is over. This battle is pretty much undecided. The enemy suffered heavy casualties, but unfortunately so did we. They may think they've won, but truth neither side succeeded. Once we bring our forces together, we'll strike back out." These words made Rainbow feel a little better. She saw other ponies from her squadron coming to them. With a determined voice, the blue Pegasus said, "You're right, Spitfire. Mustn't think of this as a loss. We all did an awesome job." Others nodded, leaving behind the damaged Cloudsdale. They began flying directly at Caroline. It was there where ponies were ordered to regroup. The entire battle made Pegasi lose about 6 flyers, and while the Griffins reported great casualties, they at least acquired a moral victory taking over the enemy's base. Fluttershy approached Rainbow Dash on the way and asked her if she was feeling any better. Rainbow didn't respond at first, but gave her friend a look of full confidence and replied by saying, "Don't worry about me. We'll return, and then we'll take back our shattered skies." Title drop!